Thank you very much, all of you. Alors, on passe aux questions. On commence.
Well, I'll start our questions. Start with Senator Norman, followed by Senators Campbell and Joyal. Senator Norman, I know that you have a number of questions. Yes, I'd like to put my name down for a second round. But before, I don't want this to count as a question. I'd like a clarification from Madame Belle-Isle. Madame Belle-Isle, you worked in Health Canada from 1994 to 2002. For the benefit of my colleagues, as the Government of Canada was required to adopt the regulations relating to the access to marijuana for medicinal purposes, for medical purposes, I'd like to know whether you were involved in this process of setting up these regulations. No, not at all.
About users and members, the membership of your both of your, and then we'll go into other questions first, because there's also a lot of people thinking, and a lot of Canadians are watching us, probably saying, "Oh, they're kidding. Don't kid me. They're not real." What kind of members are that? Are they there for real medical reason, or are they disguised and they're really there for recreational purposes? Can you, both Mr. Luca and Mr. Leung, tell us how the membership of both of your institutions are selected, accepted, and I heard one of you talking about medical documentation. So can you explain to the committee how it works?
Absolutely. Last month, the Vancouver Island Compassion Society registered its 1,000th member. It's number 1,000. And over 10 years, all of our members have a doctor's recommendation specifically for the use of cannabis. In other words, they all have their doctor's support for the use of medical marijuana. They also go through an extensive registration period with us, and during that registration, during the 35 or 40 minutes that we spend with them initially, we teach them about the different types, the different strains that Mr. Leung alluded to, the different methods of ingestion, because many of them don't smoke cannabis. They eat it or they take it through oil or through other methods of ingestion. And it's worth mentioning that out of the 1,000 members that we have at the Compassion Society, we have doctors' recommendation from well over 350 local doctors. So the medical community has been very supportive of sending people to our quasi-legal organization. On the other hand, and strangely enough, only a handful of those 1,000 members have their legal right to use it through Health Canada. In other words, these very same doctors that feel comfortable sending people to our dispensaries are not nearly as comfortable filling out the Health Canada paperwork. I think those are for reasons of bureaucracy, because the stigma associated with being a doctor recommending medical cannabis, and a number of other reasons. So, in other words, our members have the equivalent of what you would have as a prescription for any other substance that they might be using for their condition.
Mr. Leung, it's a similar situation in Vancouver?
Yes, we have a very similar registration process to the Victoria Club. What I could share perhaps is I have some statistics for the demographics of the membership that we serve.
So it means that you are refusing members?
Yes, well, of course, they need their healthcare practitioner to fill out their application form and to submit. But again, of our own membership, less than 4% hold federal licenses. And yet, of the membership we serve, almost 20% are people living with HIV/AIDS. 11.5% of our members are cancer patients. 12% of our membership are dealing with hepatitis C and B. 10% use cannabis for arthritis. Almost a quarter of our membership are using cannabis to relieve chronic pain. And the largest demographic that we serve, 42% of our members are aged 50 to 64, and a further 8% are seniors 65 and up. So these are the individuals that Mr. Saint-Denis in his testimony claims cannot be helped, and who will fall under the purview of this bill.
Just to enlighten the knowledge of the committee, why, if we compare the strains and the offer that you're providing to your members, both your membership, how do you compare that with the offer of Health Canada? Is it only one strain? Is it a variety of strain? Why there's Canadian who have access, who could have access to legal marijuana, don't do it, and they instead go to one of your two institutions?
Well, of course, poor quality and lack of strain
What do you
selection.
mean by that, poor quality?
There's been consistent feedback about Health Canada's product, which is supplied through Prairie Plant Systems, that it is of a consistently poor quality. The stem, everything is ground up together. There's no removal of the buds from the stems and the leaf. And
You mentioned 80 strains.
yes,
in
and there's
on your, let's call it menu. How many is there in the federal legal access system? How many strains?
I don't believe they offer.
Yeah.
The answer is what?
They offer one single strain. They offer one single strain and one method of ingestion, which is they send you ground cannabis to your home, and with no instruction on how to use it other than smoking it, the obvious reason. At dispensaries like the BCCS and the Vancouver Island Compassion Society, we make an oral mucosal spray available. People can use it sublingually. We make oils, tinctures, edibles as well. We certainly found, for example, the Vancouver Island Compassion Society, that people over 65 tend to tolerate edibles much better than they do smoke product. This is not an option if you're part of the Health Canada program. Additionally, for the people that we help with end of life, and this year alone I've done 6 bedside registrations, people in hospice, hospital, or in their homes who are dying, it can take 8 to 20 weeks for Health Canada to process an application through their program. If you've just been given 2 months to live, as many of our members have, unfortunately, through their doctors, it's impossible, physically impossible for those people to die and to use medical cannabis in their end of life and to use it legally. They simply cannot be covered by our federal medical marijuana program. And it's also worth mentioning, because I don't think this committee has been made aware of it right now, that it's less than 20% of people in the federal program who actually order their cannabis from Health Canada. About another half have the right to produce their own, and about 30% are actively unregistered one way or another. In other words, they're accessing it knowingly through the black market or through compassion societies. And it's worth mentioning that out of the people who've ordered the cannabis from Health Canada, 1,400 of those users, out of a program of 4,000 people, owe Health Canada for that cannabis supply. They've either chosen not to pay for it or been able to not able to pay for it. And as a result, Health Canada is owed by federal cannabis users right now almost $1.5 million. And in fact, Health Canada has actually cut off 636 people from accessing that supply of cannabis, which is Canada's only legal supply of medical cannabis. So those people are forced back onto the street, or they're forced to suffer without support.
Supplementary? How do your prices compare with Health Canada's?
Our prices range for the actual physical cannabis from about $6 to $9 a gram. The Health Canada cannabis is about $5 a gram, plus tax. And we don't charge tax on ours, and plus tax and delivery, as Mr. Tousaw mentions. And the alternatives supplies that we supply, so our oils and tinctures, we make those in-house, and those are meant not only to be alternatives to smoking, but lower-cost alternatives to even the smoked cannabis through the black market. And so for a bottle of our oral mucosal spray, which contains 400 sprays and might last a patient 2 weeks, it's about $10. And additionally, the Vancouver Island Compassion Society, as a nonprofit, gave away $10,000 worth of cannabis last year. Each and every one of our members are eligible for a donation once a week, and many of our low-income users take advantage of that on a weekly basis.
Now, just before I go back to Senator Nolan, we have scheduled an unusually long session with you, but it's not infinite.
C'est pour cette raison, madame, que je mets mon nom sur la deuxième.
That is why I put my name on the list for the second round.
And our answers. Tight. Senator Campbell, followed by Senators Royal and Senator Milne.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and welcome. I don't know why you would be surprised that this is a government that can't produce nuclear isotopes. Why would you think they could grow medical marijuana, or vice versa?